Welcome to What's Up, Bolts? I'm Fernando Ramirez. That man with his sunglasses and the cowboy hat must be Dan and Daygo. We're here to break down Chargers-Broncos. Fernando, Dan, why a day late, but not a dollar short? We got some great stuff coming up in this here, your favorite
program.
We're a day late because it's obviously Monday Night Football. Decided to give you guys something to watch for this weekend. A lot of good stuff happening with the Chargers right now. They've won 2 in a row. They're facing a Broncos team that's reeling. We'll be talking to a compa, Troy Renck from Denver 7. He was there last week for that abysmal Thursday night game where the Broncos or the Indianapolis Colts barely beat the Denver Broncos. I think it was like 12-9. And his co-host says, I'm so sorry you guys had to watch that debacle, but obviously good to have Troy on. We'll get to his interview in a little bit, and he'll break down the Denver Broncos for us. But Dan, how are you doing today?
It's an excellent day. Had a homecoming rally today at the high school. Great practice, ready for Friday Night Lights. You know what? It's like Coach Pompa says, it's never a bad day when you wake up on the right side of the dirt, dude. Excellent. How are you, my good sir?
Good. Just getting ready for that Monday night game. Should be a good one. Well, it'll be interesting because, I mean, Russell Wilson saying all the right things, and the only thing, and I'll put up in a little bit what some of the things that he said, but there was a lot of I's, a lot of me's, a lot of not a
Tell
lot
me
of
a lot of let's rides.
No, there wasn't that many.
Oh,
but he basically,
boo.
just in layman's terms, he basically said, I've done this before in my career, but you haven't done. Okay, well, hold on. First,
we'll get into it.
I've done this before.
I have my shovel ready also. Don't you?
All right, we'll get into it in a little bit. But obviously it should be an interesting football game just because there's a lot of unknowns. I mean, are the Chargers really back from the game against the Jaguars where they just look completely unmatched? Like I've told you guys, and I've told you guys all along, relax. It's a different season. Look at the Jaguars. They just lost to Houston. They lost to Philly, and now everybody thinks, oh, they're out of here. They're back to being the regular Jaguars. That's how the NFL goes. Everybody needs to relax. But this game's going to be very telling into what direction these Chargers are headed. If they can get the victory out, boom, you're at the top of the division. Obviously, you're going to know coming in if you're going to be tied in the division with the Chiefs if they lose to the Buffalo Bills or not. So that'll be another interesting matchup to take. To look at, but Dan, let's see. You know what? Let's go back to last week and break down a little. We love this segment. We like when Dan breaks down film for us. So let's go now to Dan breaks down film.
I love that.
So let's go. That. Yeah, no. So I love this segment. I love when you break down film because I know that you're the expert here. I am the stooge. So I like knowing a little bit about it. So Dan,
here we go.
We have to go with it again. Jamaree Salyer, he's really stepped up. He's his number's been called upon, and he said, you know what? Coach, put me in the game. I got this. Left tackle. You're going up again. And remember last week I said it. Yes. Okay, good. You did well against Houston. Now you're going up against Myles Garrett and the Cleveland Browns pass rushers. Yep. Can you do it? Damn, they came away with 0 sacks. The only sack that they came away with was when Justin Herbert slid out of bounds and I think only lost a yard or half a yard. But Dan, go through right here what you see.
First off, before you even press play, dude, look how far wide he is, right? It's real tempting for him to just kick all the way out there because of his speed, panic, and open up the inside. But look at how he's patient. He's patient. He's waiting. Look how he's seriously waiting for him to make his move. And then when he's within his range, he takes him, right? Like that's what, well, I guess I'll get that to the end. Look right here. He's wide again. He's patient. He's patient. He knows this guy's a freak of nature, and he waits for him to make the first move. He tried to rip right there and get under his shoulders, but he pushed him all the way past the pocket and ran him essentially out of the play. And by the time he does all this, right, because that takes a lot of time, you have to be really fast. He's already out of the play. He's out of the throwing lane at Justin Herbert. That's why it was so interesting to me that I think it was Alberto's burial of the week or takeaway. I don't remember which. How he said he's tired of hearing obviously these gurus, these quote unquote experts in the draft process, talking about how tackles have small arms or they're not good if they have small arms or whatever. Personally, I don't mind the small arms, and here's the reason why. Before everyone gets on me about wingspan, I don't like it a lot of times when I have tall tackles. I mean, even just at the high school level, right? Because they'll rely too much on their length and they want to reach out right away, let their feet go dead, right? It kills your mechanics to begin with because you think you have the advantage because of your long arms. So when you have tighter arms, smaller arms, your mechanics have to be on point. Your kick step, your body positioning, your leverage.
Rashawn Slater.
Exactly. That's why his technique is so clean. It doesn't matter if he gets guys whose arms are longer than his or shorter or whatever. His technique's always the same no matter the opponent. That's why you can't always rely on the gifts God gave you. You have to work on the technique to be better every single day.
Here's another play, Dan, with Jamaree Salyer and Myles Garrett.
I love watching offensive line play, dude. Have I said that today? Look at that. He's patient. He's patient. Look how he's seriously waiting for this guy to throw his first move. That's tackle 101, right? Like I always tell the lads, you have to be a Venus flytrap, right? If a Venus flytrap sees a fly, or I don't know if it has eyes or whatever, right? But just pretend with me here. I'm no scientist, but if it sees
but
a fly, yeah, I'm a Stitch.
But I'm a hustler, baby.
Oh, but that's right. I ain't no math major, but I'm a hustler. But anyway, shout out to our compa over there. Anyway, that's why. Okay, remind me where I was going because I got thrown off by that right there.
You were talking about how.
Oh yeah, the Venus flytrap.
Yeah,
Venus flytrap, right? If a Venus flytrap, the way it captures its prey, right, it's by letting it get close enough on its like surface or whatever until the Venus flytrap itself is ready to trap it, right? Does that make sense? The Venus flytrap is not going to actively reach for it because it could miss. So it's the same thing in offensive line play in the pass pro, right? You have to wait for your fly to come to you. Then when you're comfortable with that range, that's when you strike.
And it didn't, and you could tell the Chargers were not trying to hold on. Like Justin wasn't trying to hold on to the ball a lot, which credit to Joe Lombardi. He did have a good game plan. I thought this was one of his most complete game plans this season, where the offense didn't struggle from first quarter to fourth quarter. I thought they moved the ball well. Yeah, there were a hiccup here and there, but it wasn't like it had been in other games. But I didn't think Justin looked rushed when he needed to throw the football. I thought he threw the football when he needed to, and it wasn't like they had a game plan of, oh, as soon as you get it, just throw it or throw it away. Like I felt like he felt comfortable in the pocket.
100%. He didn't really. This was a pretty good protection game, especially when you're going up against Jadeveon Clowney and Myles Garrett over here with late round draft picks. Who
here's
if you develop.
Here's the next one.
Here we go. Let's see what we're doing here. Look how wide this guy is.
So obviously, right now they're in single back
under
formation.
Center. Yeah, under center. Let's
here
see.
Comes
this.
Josh.
Got a little motion. Got a little motion. Oh, this is the best play in football. Oh no, never mind. It's a pass play. Oh, look at that. Look at that. I just love watching offensive line play. I just don't like that Zion Johnson. Why does he keep? Isn't Ryan the director?
Ryan Johnson is the director.
Yeah. That's why
that made that terrible Star Wars movie. Yeah,
exactly. Absolute garbage.
Yeah,
garbage.
So here's another one.
Here we go.
Justin's in shotgun with Austin Eckler right next to him.
Watch his patience, dude. Watch his patience. I just don't like that he crosses his feet and he starts running, but that one wasn't as good. Right there, he was a little too slow off the ball, it looks like. Wasn't ready to go, because if they're running a screen or a quick swing.
Well, and then also Myles Garrett's a freak of nature. Like he's
you have to, yeah. But
like, I'm not trying to say like that he's anywhere near Myles Garrett, but Melvin Ingram I thought was a great athlete.
Yeah,
would get off the ball really fast.
Yeah, those guys are just something else, dude. Something else. But like this guy, seriously, much love and credit to him. And I am so happy I'm eating my crow on Trey Pipkins, because they've both balled out a lot better than I would have thought. And honestly, think for you losing essentially, Rashawn Slater was an all-pro tackle last year, right?
Yes.
For losing essentially an all-pro tackle as a rookie in his second year or whatever, like you had a good backup. Shout out Tom Telesco. Way to draft a genius over here.
Here's another play.
Here we go. Let's see this. Oh, now he's tighter. No, I think Myles Garrett is at the end of it. Yep, there he is. Oh, there you go. The patience. He knows he's coming. Seals it. Boom. Tries to spin. I don't think he. Oh, he did get past him. But that's all right. He got the ball off. That's the thing, right? Half of it is just getting in front of your opponent to make sure your quarterback has enough time to get rid of the football, right? Because a lot of these routes, anyway, are probably timing routes or things of the nature.
Here's another one.
Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. There you go. Just buries them and washes them right into Matt Filer. That's the thing you got to do, dude. When you wash guys, you have got to be physical.
Oh, by the way, Dan, Brandon Staley thought this should have been a touchdown. It should have been called a touchdown.
Oh, I don't doubt it.
He said that he thought that that they were told, toes, that he got both toes in, and then the foot came down. And he said that that they told him feet, I think, and he was surprised that it wasn't called a touchdown.
Well, you remember we were watching this replay, and we're like, okay, we just don't know what a catch is anymore, apparently, in the league.
Here's another one.
Joke. Let's see this right here. He's always in like a 7. He's all the way out there, dude. Let's see. He's trying to. I love how he's angled too. Oh, patient. Boom. Dude, you look how he's trying the same move every single time just to get under his shoulder, and he can't do it. Man, you would think this guy who's getting paid as much money as it is would have thrown a different move by now, you know?
Yeah.
Because look, there he goes. There he goes again, just trying to rip under. Oh, that one wasn't as good, but at least look at.
But Jadeveon, it looks like they're going to run into each other.
The son of Odin. The son of Odin is just such a beautiful person to watch, dude.
Oh, this
you see how his pocket presence.
Drops.
You see his pocket presence. He steps up right at the right time. Gosh, dang it, dude! I love that guy so much. First time in my 26 years of life, I bought a quarterback jersey on my favorite program. Look at that stud, absolute dart. Of course, we're asleep. That's another one, but I guess we'll get into it later. That's another one we need to talk about. I don't know what's been up with that guy this year.
Here we go. Let's hear from Brandon Staley. He talks about what he's liked about the what he's liked so far about the about the offensive line. And hold on, let me make sure this is the right one.
Yeah, Fernando's.
Okay, yeah, this is it. This is what
here we go.
This is what he says. What he's liked so far about the offensive line this season.
Just been a team effort. I think it just starts with that premise is that it takes a team effort to play like that. And it's not just the O-line, it's their coaches, it's the skill players around them, it's the protection plan, the run game plan. And I think that, things take time, and I think for us up front early in the season, it's just taken some time for those guys to play together, to get into rhythm together. But I think you've seen, over the last couple of weeks, us play really quality football, on the road. And that's also a factor, is that when you have a group that can go on the road and being able to play like that, we're excited. We got to keep improving.
I love just talking about. I am a huge offensive line advocate. In case you haven't learned this already about your boy, about the cowboy hat wearing,
what
sunglass wearing,
what
whiskey drinking,
what
country music listening,
what
handsome son of a gun.
What?
I love it. I just love it.
Speaking of love, obviously Brandon Staley showing love there to the offensive line. I remember a lot of people thought, the sky's falling when Rashawn Slater went down. And what's interesting is that later Brandon Staley even said that he thinks Jamaree is obviously doing well because of the coaches and everybody, but he's also saying he also has another coach in Rashawn Slater who's helping him out during games, who's I guess Rashawn's gone to every single game, and that he comes off the field and Rashawn starts talking to him and starts telling him, hey dude, you need to do X, Y, and Z. Here, let me help you. Let me do this. And so that's going to be key for him too, is learning off of Rashawn Slater. And I think Rashawn being there really is going to help him, because Rashawn he's rehabbing his arm and everything, but he has that tool, or Jamaree has that tool in Rashawn that's going to help him out.
Yeah, exactly. I wonder, do they show him on TV with a headset and all that, looking all cool like they do?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. No, that's more of a quarterback thing. But
there you go. You missed it. That's the point I'm saying. He doesn't look ridiculous like that stooge over there. There's not, I kid you not. The other day, just real quick story. one of them were making a tic tac for the team. I was like, okay. Someone rolls up to me. They're like, if you had a daughter, who on the team would you not allow to date them? I literally said with the straightest face, any skilled position player, none of them. None of those skilled position players can date my daughter. It'd only be linemen. I don't trust them. That's the point I was making. The lineman's always the hard hatter who's going to be in there doing the dirty work when everyone's still asleep, and they're not going to show them on the TV like their precious darling Dak Prescott headset and all that fake coaching. Starting to get nervous because this.
Remember when Russell Wilson came out 30 minutes before the game and he ran a whole if he was gonna quarterback the whole game.
You know what? We're gonna make that a segment next week, maybe. Whose pregame routine was worse, Dak Prescott or Russell Wilson, dude?
Who put on the show?
Stooges.
Speaking of putting on the show, we're gonna go now to our compa Troy Renck. Like I said, whenever we get him on, he always brings it. He always tells us how it is. So let's get Troy on and see what he has to say about this year's Denver Broncos. Folks, there's things that happen throughout the year. 2 times a year, time changes. 2 times a year, different things. But 2 times a year here on COMPAS on the Beat, we have to get one of our compas, Troy Renck from Denver 7. He joins us. He breaks down the Broncos. Always gives us great stuff. And don't forget, he is also the host of Broncos Podcast with Troy Renck on Apple and iTunes and your podcast subscribers. So we're going in behind enemy lines with Troy. Troy, how are you doing?
Fantastic, man. It's not the first month we expected in the new Russell Wilson era. It's been very similar to the past 6.5 years of tragic quarterback play and inability to score points. But hey, I'll say this about the Broncos. They're never not interesting. We just did not expect this type of start with a new owner, new coach, new quarterback.
Troy, when you're sitting there on Thursday Night Football and you're watching the Broncos and the Colts go back and forth and all the stuff that was happening, is that when it hit you? Oh my God, deja vu. Like it's the same old stuff is happening between with the Broncos and their inability to put the ball in the end zone.
Yeah. I mean, it was like watching 2 drunks fight hard, just like, can't knock each other out. It's so bad. And it reminded me of the Washington game last year where the Broncos won that game despite fumbling right at the end of the game and giving Washington a second chance to beat them and still couldn't. It's just to not be able to score a touchdown at home on Thursday night. I mean, it's just, I'm not saying it was hard to watch, but my retinas were burning afterward. It's not good football. It's just not good football. And the entire idea of bringing Russell Wilson here and pairing him with an offensive-minded head coach was that the offense would be functional at the beginning and then really start to excel. I would have never thought that they would be in a situation where the defense is allowing 16 points per game and they have a losing record because their offense is scoring 15 points a game. I mean, it's just unthinkable, Fernando, to think we're into the Russell Wilson era right now and talking about the same issues that we talked about with Paxton Lynch, Trevor Siemian, Brock Osweiler, Case Keenum, Joe Flacco, Teddy Bridgewater, Drew Lock. I'm not about to begin to give up on Russell Wilson. Talk of him being watched, everything. I think all of that's premature. It's just been jarring that it's been that if they were functional offensively, they would be 3-2, if not 4-1.
Do you think, Troy, it is the inexperience of Nathaniel Hackett, or is it just a combination of everything?
Yeah, it's a confluence of factors. I mean, the number one reason they're 2-3 is the offense. But why is that? Well, I think in an ideal world, Hackett would be coaching Aaron Rodgers with this offense. They've tried to take a really good recipe from Russell and a good recipe from Nathaniel Hackett. When you make them into this stew, it tastes like, basically asphalt. It's not working, even though both of them individually success. Putting them together, it's not a meal. It's tasting awful. And Russell looks uncomfortable, and at times Hackett looks overmatched. Now, he's gotten a little better in game management since the opener at Seattle. But you asked me, what's going on? Well, I think 2 things have happened. Hackett is running an offense where you're asking your quarterback to go through progressions. And if they're not there, then play script. Russell Wilson traditionally is not a guy who's going through 4 or 5 reads. He's one to get outside the pocket and make plays. But at the same time that this is going on, Russell Wilson arrives in Denver talking about wanting to play 12 more years, 10 to 12 more years. And he's into this idea of kind of reinventing himself as a Drew Brees or a Rodgers or Brady. That's not his game. Frankly, all those guys who grew up as pocket passers. Rodgers may be a little lesser than Brady and Brees, but Russell is like trying to microwave this idea of all of a sudden he's a pocket passer. They need to move the pocket. They need to get him back under center. They need to do bootlegs to give him the option, because he's shown a reluctance to run that looks like by design. Now, he ran against San Francisco to save them from losing, but they've got to get back to basics, get him more under center, just use and get him outside the pocket. Russell Wilson standing behind in shotgun, throwing into the middle of the field, that has never been his strength. So what is it? It's just a combination of things that aren't working together. Individually, you could look at this, Fernando, and say, this should work, this should work. When you put them together, working. So they need to figure out what is the best for Wilson, a compromised Wilson, who now has a shoulder injury. What is the best way to put him in position to succeed? And so I would simplify it. Things he does well, work off of that. Because what they're doing now, for whatever reason, some of the play calls have been fine, and it's ended up on Russell. And he does the thing on this. He doesn't have DK Metcalf and Lockett. And the only receiver he looks like he trusts at all is Cortland Sutton. So it's leading to him not seeing the whole field, because he's really only trusting like one guy, and then Javonte Williams, the running back, who's out for the season. He's got to either trust more receivers, or they've got to just simplify things to make it easier for him to get some momentum and then branch out again. Because right now, I'm telling you, it's not working.
And then, obviously, I mean, you lose Javonte Williams, like you said. Then Garrett Bowles goes down, their left tackle. Obviously, Troy, for folks who don't know, how important is Bowles to that to that offensive line?
Well, he's been their best lineman, over the last couple of years. He's certainly in that argument. He was all-pro, second-team all-pro during the COVID season. Last year, he regressed some. This season, he's been okay, but he's okay, meaning he's one of their better linemen. Their line is average to below average, and he has the potential to be special when he's right. With him gone, Fernando, you're right. It's just not unlike what you guys are dealing with. That's the other. You have to understand with the NFL, you're going to have injury. So when teams say, "Oh, if we weren't injured, we'd be great," like you know as well as anyone with the Chargers, they've had devastating injuries that have summer seasons. But that's the NFL. I mean, it's not like almost every team goes through this. But they're going to have a new left tackle, probably Calvin Anderson. You have Reisner at guard, Cushenberry at center. They want right guard Quinn Miners to be back, and they would prefer Billy Turner to be at right tackle to debut. He hasn't played. He knows that system as well as anyone. And there's been an adjustment to the wide zone blocking scheme. One thing they did well was run the ball last year. I would have kept Mike Munchak personally as the line coach because he was so important to Bowles, but the entire line, they go with Butch Berry. That, not unlike what you've seen with Hackett and Wilson, has been an adjustment process. So, their line's an issue, and they're going to miss Bowles. There's no easy way to replace him, but you can replace it through scheme, through play design. And the one thing they cannot do is abandon the run, because if they do, it's going to get really ugly really fast.
And Troy, I'm 7 minutes into this interview, and I still haven't asked you, but Russell Wilson is expected to play on Monday night, correct?
He is. I was at practice on Tuesday. He received a PRP injection on Friday in LA, which promotes and accelerates healing. You basically move blood around that area. It's his latissimus dorsi, essentially behind his shoulder. I've covered pictures. Okay. I covered Major League Baseball. It's like a fatigue injury, a lat strain. Typically, you need a week or two off. Dak Prescott had something similar last year when the Cowboys were in Oxnard during the preseason, and he had the luxury to sit out a couple weeks. He never missed any regular season time for this injury. Russell's promoting the healing as fast as he can. He was throwing the ball fine today. Here's the thing about the NFL, and I know it's it feels cold-hearted, but the NFL is about as sympathetic as a parking ticket. And I tell people this all the time. You've lived it. In the NFL, 90% of the people don't care about your problems, and the other 10% are glad you have them. They don't care. And so if Russell's out there, the expectation is he's functional. Now, I'm not saying he's 100%, but once you start, you have to be good enough to win a football game. You can't, it's not high school or college where like, oh, he gave it such a try, I had a chance because no, he was playing hurt. Again, once you get out there, the expectation is you're good enough to win. And he looked fine. I do think he'll be compromised, but there is a way to protect him. And that's, again, get him outside the pocket, high throw, maybe one side of the field reads, make it a little easier for him, get him some momentum. That's how he played against the Raiders in the first half. But the last 6 quarters since he's had that in, he's 27 for, he's 2 for 18 on passes into the end zone this year. That's not Russell Wilson. And for me, I want to get him confidence, get him into the game, easy throws, make it, and don't forget about the run game, because once you do, and Russell's scrambling around, him susceptible to a sack that could really knock him out for a significant amount of time.
Yeah, no, and I completely agree. Troy, when it comes to the defense, it seems like obviously this was a Vic Fangio built defense. It's built for his system, but it seems like the defense is still playing tough. They get Justin Simmons back this week. And Patrick Surtain is obviously Patrick Surtain. He's playing. I mean, I from what I've seen, he's had some hiccups here and there, but he's played well in my opinion. But they lost Ronald Darby. How big of a loss is that, losing Ronald Darby moving forward?
Yeah, listen, their defense has been nails. 16 points a game. They've only allowed a touchdown in the second half in one game, and that was to the Raiders when they couldn't field against Josh Jacobs. But their defense has played well. If not top 5, certainly a top 10 defense. And give credit to Adriel Averill from the Rams, the new coordinator. Very creative at how to pressure. The one criticism we had of Fangio's defense, well, 2, they weren't getting takeaways and they weren't getting sacks. Part of the takeaways is they were constantly trailing in games. Hard to get, and you never have. But Averill's created ways to get pressure with 3 outside linebackers at time. Last week he had Nick Bonito, Bradley Chubb, and Baron Browning on the field. So I give a lot of credit to him. Pat Surtain, you bring him up, Fernando. He has been their best defensive player. I said this about him. He turns opposing receivers into Chick-fil-A. They're never open on Sunday. And he has been amazing. And he's in the conversation for all pro as a second-year guy. He's that good. Yeah. And they will move him around. I'll ask you, if Allen's going to play, I don't know. It sounds like he's at least trending that way. But Stan had 2 picks last year on Herbert. He was like Williams. And can they move him around? Without Darby, they're going to probably trust the rookie, Jamaree Mathis from Pitt. He's aggressive. I love his mentality. He's a boxer by trade, but he played a lot of man, so he's still learning the nuances of the zone coverage. But they're going to lean on him tremendously, and they should get Justin Simmons back. That moves his replacement, Caden Stearns, into the dime package, sometimes maybe nickel. Defense, I'm not particularly worried about. The Chargers are good, but for me, for the Broncos to have any chance to score an upset here is the fact their offense just has to be functional. And they just have been so bad, especially in the red zone. It's hard to see how a path to victory other than make the Chargers one-dimensional, which they were until Eckler went off this past week, and get turnovers. And Herbert, for whatever reason, doesn't play well against this specific defense. He's had issues with the Broncos and Patriots, if memory serves. So that would be your one hope as a Bronco fan, is that Herbert, just struggles with the disguises and coverage in this defense, because Herbert's a tremendous player, but maybe you get him on an off day like they did here in Denver.
Yeah, no, and I mean, the thing is, Troy, I don't know if Keenan's going to play. He's been close twice, and once he left the field right in the middle of practice, and then another time I think they wanted to ease him into the next week, and then that's when he got hurt during practice, and he re-aggravated it. We don't know yet if Keenan's going to play, but yeah, Justin, he's only been sacked literally 3 times this year. He's been sacked 5, but 2 of them he gave himself up before the line of scrimmage, and 3 of them he's actually gone down. So, and he only thrown 2 interceptions, so he really hasn't turned the ball over. He's taking care of it. He's not taking sacks, so he's been pretty good. But like you said, he has struggled against the Patriots, and he does struggle against the Broncos, which is unique because, I mean, Brandon Staley is part of that Vic Fangio system, so you would think that he wouldn't struggle as much with that system. But hey, that's why they play the game. That's why it's so much fun to watch Herbert against the Broncos, because you want to see those different nuance that they bring. But Troy, before I let you go, is there anything else that let's talk about Melvin Gordon a little bit. It seems like he's kind of been up and down, but does it kind of feel now like, without having to worry about Javonte Williams and everything, do you feel like maybe now he can relax a little bit more and just play his game without having to worry about maybe Javonte taking more snaps out of him? Because I saw him fumble. He's fumbled a couple of times this year, and I know the Chargers know that he puts the ball on the ground, and they'll be trying to go at that. But what do you think?
Listen, it's been a tough go for Gordon. He's been great. I love interviewing Melvin. He's candid. He's an interesting interview. He's different than about 99% of the athletes I typically talk to. So I appreciate his perspective. It's just he's fumbled in 5 of the past 6 games dating to last season. He has 4 fumbles this year. So he basically has 5 fumbles in his last essentially 56 carries. I mean, and he knows that it's not acceptable. And he's had some bad luck with some, but regardless, you can't put the ball on the ground at that type of frequency. Will Javonte Williams being out help him? Early, I thought it would more against the Colts, but early on he was so committed to holding the ball tight, it was affecting him being shifted. It was like a young player in high school learning, whatever you do, don't fumble. But in the process of holding onto the ball, so you lose your vision, you lose criticism because you're focused on one thing. As the game went on, he seemed to relax a little bit. He finished strong in that game against the Colts. But, Latavius Murray is going to be up to speed now. So Melvin will get first check. And the reason he gets it over Boone, we get questions, why isn't Mike Boone playing? Mike Boone's not really good in pass protection. It's not his strength. Yeah. He's not a great receiver out of the backfield. Melvin is a good receiver, as Chargers fans know. I think he averaged 50 catches a year for 3 years in a row, his last 3 with the Chargers. So he's a more well-rounded back, but you can't have him on the field if he's fumbling. So you ask me, will he be more relaxed? I think he's in a better headspace this week than last week. That was a tough thing because Bronco fans, they were so upset with the fumble against the Raiders that, they were trying to run him out of town. It was just, completely uncalled for in regards to the criticism of him personally, not on the field. But
I know. I completely agree.
Yeah, they need him to be good. But if he's not, again, Latavius Murray's sitting there. They're not going to wait around for – basically, he's operating margin for error at this point. If he were to fumble in the second series, we might not see him the rest of the game. That's happening to the Raiders. He came in on his first carry in the second quarter. It was his first carry of the game, and he fumbled, and we basically didn't see him again for almost the rest of the game. And Melvin knows that. It's a crappy way to have to play, but he's put himself in that position. I'm not giving up on Melvin. They need him. They need to run the football. He's a talented player. He's got a chip on his shoulder. He's got the whole bag of Doritos at this point. Can he prove him? Can he prove him wrong? But they need him. And he'll have some motivation going up against the Chargers. That's always an emotional game for him. But he's got to – I tell people when I coach kids, Fernando, I want you to play with emotion, not be emotional. When you get emotional, then you do things that cause you to get out of your own game and you do things you're not capable of doing. You want to be with emotion and you want it to matter, but not so personal that you lose sight of the team goal of we got to win this game.
So before the game, do not listen to Drake. Do not listen to any of these artists that are going to get you all emotional and get you all going. So he needs to avoid he needs to avoid that kind of music. But Troy, before I let you go, who you got on Monday?
Yeah, listen, the Broncos are 5-14 in their last 18 AFC West games. So I would be a fool to pick them Chargers on the road with the way they're playing offensively. Going into the season, I'll be fair. I had this as a win because I thought at this point in the season they'd be 4-1. Offense would be good defense. They've had success against Herbert. It's not like an easy crowd, Chargers crowd, nothing like they saw certainly in Seattle. It's a winnable road game. I just can't with any confidence say they're going to win because they're averaging 15 points a game. So prove me wrong. I hope it's a competitive game. That game we watched with the Chargers and Raiders on Monday night was fantastic. I would kill for a game like that. The Broncos are like the Rockettes, 1, 2, 3 kick. They had 9 3-and-outs against Houston. I mean, their punters getting special teams player of the week. I just want it to be a good, exciting game, but I'm picking the Chargers to win. I don't have a score yet. I think they're a 6.5-point favorite in the Superbook. So I would think it would be that kind of game where it's 24-17, 24-19. But I can't pick the Broncos where they Russell dealing with this shoulder issue, and I hope they prove me wrong because that would mean their season's back on track.
Yeah, no, I understand exactly where you're going with. Thank you so much, Troy. That is Troy Renck, Denver Broncos insider for Denver 7, host of Broncos Podcast with Troy Renck. You can find that all over iTunes and Apple podcast. Troy, like I said, Troy's a compa. He always has time for us. He always makes time to break down the Broncos, and we appreciate him so much. Troy, thank you so much for joining us.
Anytime, my man. Look forward to seeing you on Monday night, my friend.
Dan, great stuff from Troy as always. I really enjoy, like I said, listening to him, and he really broke it down. He thinks that it's going to be a bit of a struggle for the, I was going to say the Seahawks, for the Broncos to get going, and I think it is. It probably will be because obviously Russell Wilson just had his procedure done, and he said, "Oh, it feels better every single day." But I mean, we all know Russell Wilson's kind of a politician, so he's going to give you the answer that you want to hear, not the answer that's really there. So, but this is going to be interesting because obviously there's a lot going into this game. The Chargers offense, in my opinion, I mean, they're gonna need to be careful because this secondary is they're saying that Justin Simmons may be back this week, their free safety.
Yep.
He's an all-pro. He's very good. They got
Yep.
Kareem Jackson still back there. Patrick Surtain is going to be playing, and Patrick Surtain, is a lockdown corner. He's very good. The only question is, opposite side of him, Ronald Darby is done for the year with a torn ACL. So it's going to be interesting who they look at, but obviously in the pass rush, they have Bradley Chubb. Bradley Chubb has 5.5 sacks. He's one of the top leaders in the NFL in sacks. He has 4 tackles for losses. He has one pass defended. So it's going to be he has 2 forced fumbles as well. So it's going to be an interesting matchup between the Chargers offense and the Broncos defense. Dan, if you're the Chargers offense, what do you need to do to keep the Broncos offense or defense at bay?
100%. I said run the football last week. This is an X factor, right? It's just what I'd like to see.
Yeah.
What I like to see is more pass distribution, right? We got into it a little bit last week because I said I didn't like the way our offense, literally, if you're not passing to Mike Williams, it was going to one of the running backs between Joshua Kelly and Austin Eckler, obviously. And to me, in my mind, that's a big problem. Like, I'm not going to say it's time to panic. And I understand Keenan Allen's hurt and everything else, but you got to have that next man up mentality. I think a big problem, especially this week, if they have obviously a good secondary, they take away Mike. Like, who's the son of Odin going to toss to if no one can get open? I know Gerald Everett's looked good in a few games. Wasn't really active last week. Josh Palmer hasn't emerged as that 3 like everyone thought he would. And now he's been asked probably to fill the role of the 2. Jalen Guyton's obviously out for the year. Are we going to see more Michael Bandy this game? I think we barely saw him last game. I think you said 2 plays or so for now. So that to me is, what I like to see. I'd like to see Mike get his touches, a few to Palmer, a few to Bandy. I mean, obviously Everett, McKitty, if he's ready to go. Parham, was non-existent in the last game. I didn't even see him out there. And it's like, that's the thing I'd like to see, more pass distribution. So that way they can't just zone in on one guy, right? If that makes sense.
Speaking of what you were saying, I mean, right now, Mike Williams is, I think, according to PFF, he is the number 1 receiver in the NFL against single coverage. He has a 92.9 grade. If he's first in catches with 16, and he has 252 yards, which is first in the NFL against single coverage. If Keenan Allen comes back on Monday, you can expect again probably Mike to be single covered because that's the way teams are deciding to play him, and he's taking advantage of it. And this is what Brandon Staley had to say about the way Mike has played since Keenan's been out.
Just real quick before you switch to the video, for the audio listeners, you're going to want to see the photo on the video. Oh, go back to the photo real quick. The photo was so badass of the picture they put on that stat. because Mike is jumping up to the air, essentially getting tackled. Do you see that, Frown? Tell me that's not PI before the ball even gets in there. And that's a Kansas City Chief, too.
Yeah, the ball's not
This
even. No, and I
man
think
is
they,
getting-
but I think they did call it. But I remember Mike
He
had
probably
come
still
down
caught
with
it.
that one.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like that image, you know, a picture's worth 1,000 words, and there you go, dude. So let's hear what Brandon had to say. My boy. I love Coach Staley. It's just so great because you know what, Frown? He's got the whole world in his hands.
You lose someone as special of a player as Keenan Allen, it's hard to replicate that type of production, especially when the coverage can tilt towards a player. So that's why it's been important for us to be able to run the football, stay balanced, make sure that force the defenses to defend everybody. But you know, we're a much better team when Mike touches the ball and when we can get to him a lot of different ways. And I think that's what we've been able to do. And he's just really playing well. He's improving, and he's just got to stay with it because that type of improvement leads to the results. And he and Justin have been able to really connect here and allow us to really score the ball and move the ball.
I remember a couple of years ago, everybody was nervous because Mike and it took Mike and Justin a little bit to develop, and then last year they really blew. You know what's funny, and you know what I'm really laughing at is last year there was a lot of hate towards Mike Williams before the season started, and I have stuff on Twitter that I can prove and show you folks what I'm saying. Like I remember I had a play where the receivers, it was in training camp, receivers were going through their drills. Oh my God, Mike is so lazy. I don't know why we're bringing him back. We should send him away somewhere. Towards the end of the season, fans are like, oh my God, Mike is so amazing. We need to pay him. We need to pay him. And now all of a sudden, I was looking, I uploaded a picture of Keenan the other day from practice and saying that he was back at practice. People were like, oh, so what? So he can get hurt again? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, damn,
Good
dude,
God.
y'all turn on these guys so quickly. God damn, like, these guys are honestly like, and it's not like Keenan's out there, like Keenan's trying to get back. That's why he re-aggravated, or they said that he didn't re-aggravate it, that he just felt tightness. But that's why Keenan's trying to come back. He's hungry. You don't think this guy who's been here for 10 freaking years, who suffered through numerous blown leads, potential winning your in games that they lose, late game interceptions, the frustrations, the only making the playoffs twice a year. You don't think this dude wants to be out on the field helping these guys, especially when Rashawn and Joey are gone? Come on, dude, get out of here. Like, you know, these guys want, and I'm not trying to instigate anything, but I mean, give these guys a break. Like, Keenan wants to be out there. I spoke to Keenan before the season and I wrote a whole thing for him for the OC Register. And I asked him, do you feel like this is your best chance? And he said, yeah, I really do feel like this is the best chance that we've had in 10 years. And remember, Keenan's the longest tenured. He's been here. He's seen it. Joey's seen it. Some of these other guys haven't really seen it, but those two guys have been here. They've seen it. They've gotten frustrated, and they think that this is probably their best opportunity because of guys like Justin, because of Mike, because of some of the moves that they made. But it does get a little like it kind of bugs me a little bit that fans are so like coming after these guys because they get hurt, and you're like, dude, it's not their fault. Like, it just happens. Like, and Keenan was playing well in that game. He was up there with Devontae Adams in stats and everything. So when Keenan comes back, he'll be fine. He'll gain the love of the fan base back. But I'm like, dude, leave these guys alone. Like, let him come back. Then see what he's got. Because I remember last year, everybody was all over Mike and getting on Mike and, oh, this guy sucks and this guy's terrible. Can't believe we wasted a first-round draft pick. Then at the end of the season, oh, we love him, this, that. I'm like, dude, just let these guys play. Let's see what happens. So, I mean, I'm just that's my rant. I know you're usually the ones with the rant, but I just can't believe the way fans, how the fans can be so quick to get so mad at these guys when you're like, dude, you don't think this guy wants to be out there? You don't think it hurts him to not be playing? Like, you know, Keenan wants to be out. Hell, if Keenan was out there, maybe they'd be 5-0 right now. I mean, that Kansas City game, I think they would have won that Kansas City game if Mike plays. The Jacksonville game, we don't know because obviously Justin had just got blowout and everything. So maybe that one I'll give you the toss up, but they could be 4-1 right now, right there with Kansas City if Keenan would have played all those games. But hey, It's not about it's not about the past. It's about the moving on to the future. And Keenan's going to come back, and that's why I said there's three kind of cycles that you're waiting for. One, you get Keenan back, then you get Joey, and then you could possibly get Rashawn. Yeah. And if you can get all those three back, and you're sitting pretty heading in, and you're going to go into the playoffs, you're in a beautiful spot. But obviously, we'll see down the line. But man, let these guys breathe. Let Keenan breathe. Let him get back in, and then you can determine where he's. Well, give him a couple of games too, because he's going to have to get his. Keenan's the one that's in the best shape probably out of everybody on the whole team. But still, you got to let him get his sea legs under him. But Dan, so you're saying spread the football around. I'm going to say run the football. They're going to need to run the football. They're going to need to run it consistently. I know there's a guy named DJ Jones who's good. He's from San Francisco. I liked him. I thought the Chargers should have picked him up, but obviously they went Austin Johnson and they went Sebastian Joseph Day, which is not a bad move. He has 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, 3 passes defended. So he's a good defensive tackle. I really like DJ Jones. I think he's going to help these guys out. So what's his name is going to have he's going to go up against Corey Linsley, and that's going to be a good matchup to watch for this week. But let's move over to the defensive side of the football. Dan, what does the Chargers defense need to go do against the Broncos offense?
I think the most important thing to do is to make Russell Wilson continue to see ghosts, right? Like you saw him on in that Thursday night game. Who they play? Oh, they played the Colts. He looked so uncomfortable in the pocket. Like you wouldn't think it's the same person, especially on that last play when that guy comes open right away. It's like, I understand some people are saying they ran the wrong route, whatever, but you're still a football player. You got to adjust and see those things and dart it to him. Because I think he was staring down whoever he threw it to the whole way. And I think now he's really starting to see ghosts and move when he shouldn't and move the wrong way in the pocket and all that stuff to get sacked. So that's my biggest thing. You have got to collapse the pocket and make them uncomfortable.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think the Chargers need to trust I think the secondary is going to be key. Cortland Sutton has been the one receiver that has been consistent for the Denver Broncos. He has 29 catches for 417 yards and 1 touchdown. Now, the other dangerous weapon that they have is Jerry Jeudy, 14 catches, 236 and 2 touchdowns. That doesn't sound like a lot, but you don't want to be the team that lets Jerry Jeudy and Russell Wilson get comfortable. That's going to mean depending on J.C. Jackson this game. And I know people are not happy with J.C. Jackson right now. He has struggled, and even he's admitted that he struggled. Here's our compa, Daniel Popper. He gave the stats for J.C. Jackson last weekend against the Browns. He was targeted 9 times. He gave up 5 catches for 58 yards, and a touchdown. Brissett had a 112 passer rating when targeting Jackson. It was it was a tough game for J.C. Jackson. J.C. told me last week that he's still getting adjusted to the game and everything. But here's what Brandon Staley had to say about J.C. Jackson and about kind of what he's going through right now.
Well, yeah, it's like we talked about, right? It's a new system that he's learning.
Get into his comfort zone, playing his technique and playing his game. You know, I think sometimes it's hard for people to understand when you go to a new scheme, like you've kind of made your name in a new scheme. You've been in the same system, the same location. You've been hearing something the same way for 4 years or 5 years. Then you transition. There's all this transition that happens. And I think that you've seen it with quarterbacks in the league. You know, you see Tom Brady go through a new system. You see Aaron Rodgers go through a new system. And there's time that it takes to feel like yourself, you know, the person that you're used to being. I think that's just normal. So what we're trying to do is get that transition sped up as quickly as we can. Like I mentioned to you, I think that 4 weeks being out, you know, that's a factor, obviously. But it's our job as coaches and the players around him to get him back just playing his game.
So basically what Brandon's saying there is that it's going to take him a little bit. And yeah, he missed those last couple of weeks of training camp. And that's going to hurt him. But I think he'll get up to speed, Dan. I really think that J.C. Jackson's a very good player. He told me last week, he's like, I'm still trying to get stuff down. I'm still trying to learn. I'm still trying to get back into it. So I thought he was really sincere with what he meant or what he was saying. And I think he really I think he really is trying to get it down. It's just going to take some time. Derwin James also said it's going to take him a little bit, but he told me, he's like, once you see my dog take off, he's going to take off. So
That's right.
I just think it's going to take a little bit of time, but I think JC is going to be fine.
Well, that's the thing, right? It's like you said, it's a new system and everything else. That's like if you're good at mathematics, if you're good in algebra or, world history, it doesn't mean it's going to translate to geometry or American history or European history, right? It's not the same things. Like there is an adjustment period of you learning the new formulas, the new facts, new terminology, new things you have to know.
And he's coming from Bill Belichick's system.
Exactly. Completely different, polar opposite. So it does take time to learn, like anything does.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I mean, it's going to take him a little bit, but he even said, I'm glad that I have two guys next to me who are going to fight for me and help me out in Asante Samuel Jr. and Bryce Callahan. Bryce Callahan has been a good addition to the Chargers. I saw this stat today on PFF as well. I brought it all today, Dan, for you. Fewest yards allowed in coverage. Bryce Callahan's only allowed 75 yards in 5 games that he's played.
He's a dog.
He's up there with J.C. Horn, Jamel Dean, Rasul Douglas, and DJ Reed Jr. So he's third lowest, and he's only allowed 75 yards of total offense, which to me is incredible. And again, this is what Brandon Staley had to say about Bryce Callahan when asked about it on Wednesday. Wednesday.
Bryce is playing like he always has for me, which is just steady, productive. I think he's been a real bright spot for our defense. Been so consistent through 5 games, and he's been able to go toe to toe. And I think you saw that the stats, the metrics of his cover ability, and when he's been in coverage, what the completion percentage has been and stuff like that. He's having an excellent year, but that's how he's played, and he's just brought that veteran presence. In today's NFL, when you play 5 DBs, your star is as important a position as there is. And so certainly glad to have him.
100%. He's been a dog all year. I've liked him ever since we brought him over. He was a big thorn.
He was.
In the Chargers side.
He had 2 picks in 2020. He was the one covering Mike in the end zone where I remember this. Justin threw a nice pass. It slid through Mike's arms and it fell into Bryce Callahan's arms. He intercepted Justin Herbert twice that day, I remember. Yeah. But to me, the key, Dan, is going to be the pass rush. The pass rush needs to get to Russell Wilson, and the pass rush hasn't been there lately. And ever since Joey went down, it's coming from one side, but it's not coming from other. It's coming from some sides, but it's not coming consistently the way it was when Joey was in there. And I think they're going to need I think Chris Rumpf, Kyle Van Noy, those guys are all going to need to step it up, and maybe even bring Derwin this week. They haven't done that in a while. So maybe bring Derwin in this week and try and get Russell down. Russell's hard to bring down, I think, more because of his stature than anything else. And last week you let Jacoby. Well, no, I'm just trying to I'm just being honest. And last week they let Jacoby go. They could have sacked Jacoby and had him on the interception to no, he ran for a first down on what was it, a third down or a fourth down where
it might have been.
Jerry Tillery could have brought him down. He whiffed and then he ran to the side. And I think he got the first down running it.
I have no comment about that.
Okay, well, whatever. But for me, the defense needs the pass rushers need to show up. They need to get to Russell Wilson. And obviously, they need to punch out Melvin Gordon.
100%.
They know he's fumbled 4 times this year already. They need to go at him.
There's a reason he's lost his spot probably twice to rookies. Yeah, I think the guy they have now is a rookie.
They're going to need to punch out at Melvin Gordon and get the ball out and try and cause turnovers that way. Frustrate Melvin Gordon. I know a lot of the guys, and I was talking to Derwin and some other guys, and they're like, oh, Mel's our dog. But they know that when it comes time to it, they're going to need to do what's best. And, I mean, frustrate Melvin Gordon and frustrate the running game. And then, obviously, Latavius Murray will probably suit up this weekend as well. Dan, give me a fantasy player for this weekend.
Fantasy player for this weekend, I'm going to go with
you can choose either team.
Any team. Okay. I'm gonna, you know what? I'm gonna go with what the hell's the rookie running back's name?
No, he tore his ACL.
No, not Javonte Williams. I know that. He's on my fantasy. R.I.P. to me. But the guy who's still ahead of Gordon, the new one.
No, it's Gordon.
Oh, really?
It's Gordon, Latavius Murray, and then some other guy.
Oh,
Mike
really?
Boone
No,
or something
the
like
two
that.
backs? Yeah, that's who I was
No.
talking about. Moon. I thought he was getting the majority.
No.
Okay, fine. Here's going to be my fantasy player to watch, right? I'm going to go with Melvin Gordon. They've given up, I think, 2 or 3 long touchdowns in a row or big plays in the run game.
No, it's been 4 games in a row now.
4 games in a row? They've given up
a touchdown of 40 or more.
Okay, they've given up 40 yards or more on a single run play in the past 4 games. Melvin Gordon's going to be my fantasy player to watch because, as we all know, the Chargers have a history of being poor in the run game. And the problem is, right, if the Broncos can control the clock, run the right plays to eliminate essentially a pass rush, the running back position is going to be the number one to look out for because when the defense starts getting gassed, that's when they just get gashed with runs because they are just so exhausted from the number of play they've ran and how long they've been on the field. So Melvin Gordon, if he doesn't fumble and all that stuff, that's going to be the key to watch and the key to victory for the Broncos in my mind.
I'm going to go with Austin Eckler. I think Austin Eckler has another big game. I think he's starting to put together some string of big games. I think they're going to need him this week. Yep. I think he's going to need to run hard. I think he's going to need to break some tackles, and I think he's going to need to get in the end zone at least 2 or 3 times in this game as well. So I think he scored 5 touchdowns in the last 2 weeks, if I'm not mistaken.
That sounds about right. 3 against Houston, I think,
and then 2 against Cleveland.
Cleveland,
so
yeah.
I'll say he gets into the end zone twice again this week, and he has over 100 combined yards. So I think Austin Eckler, expect to get a big game from him. Dan, who's your X factor?
My X factor is going to be the second and third and even the tight end position, right? Everyone who's not Mike Williams in the past game is going to be my X factor because you cannot have your offense go through one man because, mind you, those type of talents like Megatron, how he was double, triple team, it didn't matter, and he'd get 300 yards in a game. You know, those are generational talent. They don't come off a tree or whatever. You can't plant a seed and pick it out later. So unless the other receiver groups or the other receivers step it up, I think it's going to be very tough to play against those very good defensive backs that Denver has. So that's my X factor right there, the key to the game. If you can distribute the ball and keep the guessing who it's going to, you're going to be good to go, dude.
I'm going to go JC Jackson. I think this is where JC has a big game. I think he'll come away with 1 interception, and it'll be a big one. And I think he steps up and he plays well this game because I think he's still going to need to get it down, but I feel like he comes up with a big play. He almost came up with an interception last week on one play. I remember he got his hands up and the ball was batted down, but I think this week he comes out with an interception. Dan, Troy said he's going Chargers. What way are you going?
Yeah, honestly, this is what we were talking about right before we jumped on. In my mind, because the Broncos have looked so bad, like just really bad to the sense of like you can't get a play in before the play clock goes off. You're not in the right personnel. Like not just the way they've played on the field, but decisions being made, communication, everything else, you know, basic things in football that are key to win games. Since they've looked so abysmal and they haven't been able to do the basics, in my mind, and this is no disrespect to the Broncos organization, they've won a championship in recent years. Totally respect that. They've always been a thorn. I get it. But because they've looked so bad this year, if we don't get backups in the fourth quarter, I'm going to be a little bit nervous, especially if they push us to the brink, even though they're push the Chargers to the brink because they're a division rival and all that stuff. I think the Chargers should win this one handedly. I think they're better on the piece of paper and they should be better on the field.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you. I say the Chargers win 27-17. I just think
that's a little too close for me, dude.
Well, I just think that they've shown that the Broncos. I don't think the Broncos can. If they had a veteran coach like Pete Carroll, then maybe in 10 days they could turn it around. But you have a rookie head coach. You have a quarterback who just got a procedure done. You've lost your left tackle. You've lost your starting corner. you've lost some pieces, and you lost Randy Gregory, your other pass rusher, so that's going to be hard to come back from.
Yep.
Especially in this game. And I know Russ, like I said, he talked a lot today. He had a lot of let me read you real quick. He had a lot of me's and a lot of I've done these before, but you haven't done it. Let me see. Let me pull it up.
The thing I was gonna say too, right? They're real quick while you find it. There's no excuse why we shouldn't, or the Chargers shouldn't perform better on Sunday for one reason. You're going into year 2 of Brandon Staley with the same head coaches. The only thing different is personnel. You're in the same system. You should have that continuity that's going to separate you from teams with rookie head coaches. I understand it didn't go that way against Jacksonville, but Jacksonville has a Super Bowl winning head coach. Like, the guy knows X's and O's. Like, he's not a stooge. So this week really should be the game where you get that blowout or that big old win that you need to really boost the confidence and make sure it keeps pushing you forward, especially as the week progresses before the bye week.
So this is obviously their team reporter, so he's going to lean one way. Positivity and confidence ooze out of Russell Wilson. I keep on trying to call him Russell Westbrook. There's a lot of greatness in store. I've done it before. I'm going to do it again. I don't fear obstacles. I don't worry. I don't ever worry. If anybody is going to come through, I know I'm going to. The adversity it builds.
These are real quotes.
Character. It builds perseverance. It builds greatness. It all that tough stuff that people don't necessarily want to go through, and I'm willing to go through it. And then he ends it with exactly what you need to your quarterback / captain as the Broncos head into what Justin Simmons called must win versus the Chargers. This is like fun, regardless if they win or not. This is just funny to me. Because those
are real quotes.
Yeah, these are real quotes.
That's absolute manure. Is this guy cutting a WWE promo? I don't know. What's the only thing? You know how he should have ended this just to be more on character?
What?
Hustle, loyalty.
Hey, respect. Let's leave John Cena out of this.
Garbage. Another one who's garbage. Mr. Hustle, loyalty, respect my behind.
He's up there. Leave John Cena alone. But this is just like
you
so
can't
funny.
See me.
It's a lot of me's, a lot of eyes, a lot of
exactly what you want from your quarterback / captain frown. Didn't you hear the stooge over here with the blue check mark?
I was just I'm like, okay, whatever. But I just got a kick out of it, especially the way I read it. But
how many times in a press conference does he not double clutch and say, "Oh no, it's not Go Hawks anymore. It's Let's Ride."
Dun, 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 dun.
That's probably how he sees himself. Like, he sees himself like he's the hero of his own story, dude.
He goes to the mirror and every morning goes, Broncos country. Let's ride. He said it to him 30 times just to get it right.
I don't know how they find a helmet or a hat big enough to fit his head, dude. It's crazy.
But obviously, thank you guys so much again for checking up. What's up, Bolts? We appreciate you 1.1 thousand viewers that watched our post-game review of Fort Down Daily and after the Cleveland Browns game. We appreciate you guys. We appreciate you guys who liked, who commented, who obviously we appreciate you guys. We want you guys to be a part of the show. We want you guys to if you guys have questions,
real quick.
What?
The word show is retired from this year, your favorite program. There's only one way to refer to this thing.
What?
Your favorite program. The program. It's all about the program.
Well, we appreciate you guys for checking out your favorite program.
There you
go.
We
appreciate you guys liking, commenting, telling us what you guys like, if you guys have questions for us, throw them our way. Let us know what you guys like about the show. And don't forget, guys, go check out. And obviously, after the Monday night game, yes, Dan and Daygo and I will jump on. It'll probably be a little bit of a shorter show just because I'm going to be all the way up in Inglewood and need to come back down to San Diego. But we will have a show for you guys as soon as the press conferences are over. But like I said, we appreciate you guys so much. Don't forget, guys, Gilbert and I talked to Deontay Wilder this week for Combat COMPAS. He was amazing. Go check it out. Check out why he had to pull over while he was talking to us because he was laughing so hard. It was an awesome show. We loved it. And guys, check out the regular COMPAS on the beat. The COMPAS Bowl is this weekend. Eagles against the my Eagles against Hilberto's Cowboys. Check out who each of us decided to go for. And guys, just check out Compas on the Beat. You guys know every Wednesday a new episode will drop of your favorite program. We appreciate you guys so much. Don't forget to also check out House of Horns to see what way the guys are leaning versus Carolina versus the Rams. Man, I'm so close to taking Carolina just because
there's no way.
It'd
Dude.
be funny.
There's no
but,
way if these Stooges are even in contention with Carolina, their year's done. I'm not even.
But yeah, so it'll be funny. But thank you guys so much for rocking with us. That is Dan and Daygo. I'm Fernando Ramirez, and we appreciate you guys so much. Have a good, safe weekend, and go Padres.
Hey, Fernando, let's ride.